Hey, thanks for clicking into this podcast. You're about to hear a conversation between myself, Hugh, and buddy Gabriel down from Argentina. And we have a nice discussion over Argentinian Asado, which is similar to American backyard barbecue. We get into language learning. He's bilingual, both in English and Spanish. And finally, an extended discussion on Dungeons and Dragons. I hope you enjoy. Cheers. All right, Gabriel, we are on. So first of all, man, just thanks for hopping on. It's good to see you again. Um, I think I have right now two listeners, and I'm one of them. So for that one other listener who's out there at the moment, I'll let them know that you're coming in from Buenos Aires, which is pretty far from the U.S. It's about a 10-hour flight. But yeah, man, thanks for hopping on.
Thanks for having me. And yeah, it's kind of a long trip.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, the last time I was down there, I think it's been about a year and a half. So I met you when you were hosting some of those language exchanges, and it's funny because I was just thinking about the last one I went to down there. It was at a cafe bar. In the
Yeah.
daytime it was a cafe, in the evening it was a bar, and I remember at the time Colapinto, who's a F1 driver, was just kind of like making his mark coming out of Argentina. He's a young guy. He's like 20, 21, maybe he's 24 now. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just looked him up a little bit in F1. I was like, all right, yeah, he's still going.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's been a while. He's been, like building up his career and everything. And I don't know, like that tells you just how much time has actually passed since we since we had you here.
Yeah.
Life's
Yeah,
kind
I think
of
that's about 2 years now. Um,
yeah. I remember like hosting that for quite a bit. I had started like back in March 2024. Um, due to basically life circumstances, um, I think many people go into that kind of stuff like trying to build a business or something. But for me, it was more so like, you know, had just been laid off, and at the same time, I
mm,
ended up like a long-term relationship that I had. So I was like, well, I gotta try something new. I really want to meet people from other cultures, other
yeah,
countries. I ended up doing that for like almost the entire year, actually.
yeah. All right. Yeah. So I think I probably caught you right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a lot of stuff that gets you into, like, pushes you outside your comfort zone when you got like all those kind of changes. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Again, I oh, sorry.
no, I didn't know about all that. But I mean, like, I don't know, getting laid off is a big run around where you got to figure things out. And I mean, getting over a breakup, we've all been there. Actually, the reason I didn't go back to Argentina so quickly, I don't know if you remember, but when I last time I saw you, I said, "Oh yeah, I'll be back at least by next summer." It's been 2 years and I haven't been back, but I ended up getting into a long-term relationship, which didn't work out. But it was kind of the same thing where your plans change, and then you start thinking about long term, and you readjust, and then when those break, it's like, all right, well, get back to square one and rebuild. And I will say this: the language exchanges down in Argentina, in Buenos Aires in particular, I would go so far as to say they're probably some of the best in the world. And I say this having been to quite a few of them around the world when I was nomading. And I kind of wrote them off, to be honest. So even in Argentina, I was like, I don't know, man. I went on Meetup and I saw some, and I thought, okay, well, I'll just go one evening. And it turns out that the system, like, I don't want to say the system, but the culture down there is awesome. And what's so crazy is I met people from a lot of Argentinians. I would say only half were from Argentina. The rest were from. There was a handful of Americans, but there's a lot of Europeans as well, which was kind of I don't know, it really surprised me because Buenos Aires is far from Europe.
Yeah, yeah, it depends a lot on the time of year. You would see like a lot of people from different parts of Latin America here. Uh,
Mm,
a lot of people from Brazil, actually, no matter the time of year.
mm,
But yeah, I remember when I was running that, I saw people from all over, from like China, Korea, I made a really good friend from Germany actually as well. A couple from Switzerland, like all over, and obviously from America, like as well, like just a lot.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
matter
Yeah.
time of year as well. Anyways, yeah, I got that from a lot of people when talking with them that they say that maybe they tried something like that in Europe, for example, but they felt
Mm-hmm.
like people are like a bit more uh, reserved, like more
Mm.
for themselves, which makes sense. And that's actually something that I noticed with this German friend, because
Mm.
even, as an organizer, I wouldn't, it's not the same thing. Having having been to language exchanges, like after that, as a just as a participant, as an organizer, you're sort of like at the end of the table, making sure that everything's okay, making sure that everyone's, you know, having a good time, basically. And this German girl, she basically said like, "You seem like to be like on your own. Like, want to come and sit over here." But at first, I saw that thing of like, I didn't know if I was like pissing her off or like what was going on, but I couldn't read her at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that I got from a lot of people that say that people from certain parts of Europe or something seem to be colder. And that's
Mm.
not necessarily true. It's just like getting used to that first impression, I guess. And then you actually
Yeah.
see them be like anyone else that you're going to meet anywhere else. So I don't know.
Yeah.
In that sense, it was really useful.
Well, it's super interesting because the European stereotypes are if you're from the Mediterranean and the warmer countries, your personality tends to be a little bit warmer too. So think like the Spanish, the Italians,
Yep.
and then the further north and east you get, the colder they get, and they joke it's like it's the weather, you know. But it's
Yeah.
similar. Like I've traveled in Eastern and Central Europe as well, and I would say people are equally friendly, but there's that initial where people are just stone cold, and everyone speaks with like a deeper voice, and they're a little bit more blunt. They're harsher in their tone. But I think Americans are particularly unique. We have this phrase called beating around the bush. Like we're very indirect, and we're very good at that. So we'll tell you something that in our heads is very direct, but the rest of the world is like, why didn't you just tell me you didn't like, say at work you didn't like my report. Why didn't you just tell me that my report doesn't have the data that you want? When the American version of that is like it's watered down, and you have to read in between the lines, and you have to like really zone in on what we're saying, because we use a ton of idioms. um by the way, I should point out here, you're not a native English speaker, even though you know all the idioms, right? Like beating around the bush, reading in between the lines.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the hardest thing for me in Spanish, and it's also different by country. But you've also perfected the accent. Like I thought you had lived in America or something because you have a nice like you picked up the American accent. Of all the accents you could have decided to work on, you nailed the American accent.
Yeah, well, it's not something that I actually decided at any point because I don't have like a formal like education and like I never actually studied English in any sort of way. But for like English seems to be like a very specific language in the sense that, globalization and everything, like wherever you go, you're going to find either like an ad or something like something's going to be in English as like the transition kind of language, like
Mm-hmm.
if you go to Japan, for example, and you see like some signs are going to be in Japanese and English, like that's always like the standard. So that also goes for a lot of content. For me, even like when I was sort of, I don't want to say like a kid, a teenager, like I don't know, around like 13 or something, I started watching videos in YouTube, like when I was starting back
Mm-hmm.
in like 2007, 2008, and a lot of that was in English, and I don't know, like just through immersions, like you, I don't think that's possible with any other language unless you actually put
Mm-hmm.
some effort into that. Like you gotta actually like focus into, and if Spanish is even worse, right? Because it's not like for example, all this content that I'm talking about is either like a bit of in like maybe like Canadian or American English, and some of it from the UK, but the majority of it is going to be American English. For Spanish, you got Spain, the entire like entirety of Latin America, which have
Right.
like it doesn't matter where you go, you're gonna have different idioms, different accents, and yeah, it changes quite a bit. It makes it harder.
Yeah, I think there's so a lot of Americans seek to learn Spanish. It's very common. It's the most popular language to choose in high school, which were required. And then in college if you want to. But Spanish is by far the most popular. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is we share a border with Mexico. If you're in a state like Texas or California or Florida, there's a lot of Hispanics from all over the world, but a lot of Mexicans coming into Texas and California. In Florida, you get sort of a larger mix. You get Cubans, Argentinian, Spanish. Um, but I would say the form of Spanish that is most common for Americans would be Mexican Spanish. So the first time that I came across the Argentine accent, it was very difficult for me. And there's a few things about I'm not sure what the other Spanish speakers think about it. But it is a whole different world. I mean, it's almost like I think the best way I could explain this for English speakers is it's kind of like the first time you come across an Australian accent or a South African accent. Um, Not an English accent because we hear that so often, to be honest. But a South African accent can be quite jarring the first time you hear it. Like I heard I've seen some videos about with the Scots, the Scottish speaking in sort of their speaking English, but speaking with their idioms, and it takes me a while just to realize that they are speaking English. First of all, second of all, their idioms are so different that it'd be very easy for a Scotsman to speak to me and for me not to understand a word of it. But I think there are some similarities with if you really get into like Gaucho Spanish, it may not be so easily interpretable by someone in Mexico. But yeah, even in Spain, they joke about how the accents are so different from the southern Andalusia to like the northern um around Barcelona and Catalan. Well, Catalan's a different language, but
Yeah.
it's they is it yeah Castellano I think is what they call it. But yeah, my Spanish is out of practice. It's been a couple of years since I've really used it, but I was getting pretty good at it, and language exchange I found was like that intermediate level that I
Hmm.
needed to kind of push me over.
Yeah, and it's
But
good because you
I
don't
gotta say it's
actually
all the
have
more
any. Oh,
impressive.
oh,
I was just gonna say it's all the more impressive that you learned Spanish without formal education. On one hand, it sounds like, oh, that's expected. But another thing that I would love to hear from you is how you immerse yourself in Argentina with it. So I guess like Netflix shows and podcasts, which this could be
yeah. I
useful.
mean, it's a double-edged sword, right? Like I noticed that when I started going to the language exchange things that I would come like to meet like some people from other countries, and they would like start asking me about things from Argentina, and a lot of the culture and thing that I absorbed at some point was not from here. So there's a lot of space, like here, that's not Argentina. So a lot of shows from here, a lot of movies, a lot of things that people actually know or like care about. I
Mhm.
I never gave it a chance. So it, yeah, you will see that like if you actually immerse yourself into like I don't know, like it could be again movies, shows, anything. Like for me, it was specifically YouTube because in the
Mhm.
beginning, I just wanted to like learn to use like very specific like pieces of software, and back then the content in Spanish was like limited, if there was any at all. Um, and just the algorithm takes you from one thing to the other, and suddenly it's like, oh, do you want to learn about this other thing, or like check out this video, right? And
Mhm.
that just brought me like to know like a lot of culture from the US or maybe from other countries as a whole thing, and not Argentina, which is okay for me, right? But whenever I, I come across another person from here, it gets a bit awkward. I'm like an Argentinian that doesn't really know anything about Argentina.
That's hilarious. That's so
Yeah.
funny because like my impression now of Argentina is y'all are just insanely proud of everything Argentinian and so passionate about it. Like Colapinto's a good example. Like he just entered the F1 and he already had this massive following. Darin, I think if say it is Ricardo Darin, the
Oh, Ricardo
actor.
Darín. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So the first time I saw one of his films, I think it was Four Queens, Cuatro Reyes,
Yeah.
Cuatro
Cuatro
Reinas, something like that.
reinas, nueve reinas. I
Yes.
don't remember. I don't. That's the thing. I don't know either. Like I know he's pretty famous. I know El Secreto de
Yeah,
sus
yeah,
ojos is like another like famous one. But
yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah.
never watched them.
Oh my god. Okay, so I was spending I spent a decent amount of time down in Argentina, and for a time I was very seriously considering figuring out how to move down there. So I was like
Hmm.
studying some of the history, and I saw that one, El Secreto de sus ojos, the secret of your eyes or their eyes.
Hmm.
Um, and man, Argentinian history is wild. It's so chaotic, and I think in that film they were going through some of the legal proceedings that came out of I don't know if dictatorship is the right word, but it was
Yeah.
some sort of government involvement in like being overly authoritarian and finally getting justice for it. And that film, I mean, it wasn't just Darin is a phenomenal actor. I mean, it doesn't matter what language you speak; he's a phenomenal actor. But that film was like an integral part of Argentine history, which I mean, it's it was a really good one to watch. It was a really good one to watch. It actually I had more questions than answers after it. I was going through like, oh, okay, what was the series of presidents? I think there was that famous. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was a famous week where there was four different presidents in Argentina. Maybe it was over the course of a month.
No, it was over the course of a week. That was
Yeah.
like around 2001, 2002. I don't remember, but yeah, it was wild, and we got a lot of things like that. And I would love to get into detail about it if I knew anything about
Fair enough. Fair
it.
enough.
Yeah, no, it's kind of wild how like a lot of these things get like it's good to talk about it, with but whenever people come around, and that's also true for like I don't know places around the city or whatever,
Mhm.
um, because they actually care about the culture. They care about the places they want to visit and everything. I'm like I don't know anything about that, but I'll I'm excited to share with you, to do the thing or like to
Yeah,
to
yeah.
know about it with you. So yeah, and I feel like people are very proud of yeah, actors whenever anybody brings something up like like soccer specifically.
Yeah, you can say
Uh
football.
well, yeah, it depends.
I hope the two or three other listeners, maybe this will get to maybe 10, maybe 100 at some point, but maybe 1,000. I'm waiting for that million to come around. But yeah, okay. So, well, this is a fun fact. Soccer actually is a British term that comes from association. So it was like association football, ASOC, and then ASOC got turned into soccer. So now Americans say soccer, but we picked it up from the Brits and they went back to
But
football.
the
So the rest
Brits
of the world,
don't say it anymore, right? Like they say football
no,
as well.
they say football. Yeah, they say football.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but whenever like any of these things get mentioned, like around a language exchange, I see it's really easy to like find the Argentinian people immediately being like really excited and proud about it, and that's
Mm.
something that I don't have either. Which I don't know. Like sometimes it feels like a good thing because I don't suffer whenever you see that. I don't know. Like it wasn't the case the last time, right? Like for the last World Cup, like Argentina won, and there was like a
Mm.
lot of chaos. Like I live like right in the middle of a city, and it was like
Nice.
hundreds of like thousands of people gathering around the obelisk. It was you know uh, quite a torture for me, but you can see the other side of it too. Like they seem to suffer a lot for things that I don't know. When you look at them from the outside, they are a bit irrelevant. Like when you see,
Mm.
like when you see an Italian guy seeing someone like cutting the spaghetti with a knife, that sort of thing. It's like,
Mm.
why are you like so bothered by it? You're like so annoyed by it. So
Mm.
I don't know. Like I don't have the good part of it, like the passion, the like the really enjoying thing of
Yeah.
it. But I don't suffer because of it either. So I'm good.
Fair enough. Are you born and raised in Buenos Aires?
Yeah. Well, Buenos Aires, like not Ciudad de Buenos Aires, as in like the city of Buenos
Yeah.
Aires, like the center of it. But I was
Mm-hmm.
born like an hour and a half away from here. Like still the same province, still
In
basically the
province,
same
yeah.
thing. And I moved to the city like around 8 years ago already,
Okay.
um, because of work.
Okay. So the American version of this is so in Argentina you have provinces, and I forgot how many you have. I want to say 16. Okay, whatever. You have something like 15 or to 20 provinces, as I recall. Buenos Aires is a province, which would be like the equivalent of a state in the US. So we have the state of New
Yes.
York, and then the biggest city in New York is New York City. And a lot of times when people say New York, they're talking about New York City. Similarly, almost always when someone says Buenos Aires, especially outside of the U.S., or outside of Argentina, they're referring to the city of Buenos Aires. And then Buenos
Yeah.
Aires is a part of the larger province. I didn't travel too much around there. It had always been on my list. I think La Plata is there, and what everyone kept telling me to go to was Mendoza. That's like wine country. I guess
Exactly.
that would be like Napa Valley for Americans. It's like going out to getting some wine, riding horses, enjoying the countryside. And
Mm.
the big one, I met a lot of travelers who were doing this. Were going down to Patagonia uh, to get sort of like a nature tour. And then I guess to touch the southern tip of Argentina, which is, I believe, the southernmost tip of the world outside of Antarctica.
Yeah, so that'd be like Tierra del Fuego, and it's yeah,
Yeah,
they have a place in it that's literally called like the end of the world. So
yeah,
there's like a lighthouse, and it's Faro del Fin del Mundo, which literally like it means like end of the world lighthouse or something.
yeah. I gotta say, even Tierra del Fuego is an awesome name. What is it? It's the land of fire. Like like translating these directly to English, all the names that y'all have down there, it just sounds very magical. It's very cool.
Yeah, but sorry,
But
you're breaking up a bit, but I think I got the gist of it, like the idea. Yeah, basically, and that happens as well. Like whenever you start like looking at different cities in the U.S. as well, right? Like Nevada means like I don't know, like it's
snowfall,
snowed upon,
like
like
snowed
like
upon. Oh yeah, yeah,
or Los Angeles, like the Angels, like that sort of
yeah,
thing.
yeah. We have some really good songs. I mean, we have a ton of songs all about Los Angeles, and they refer to it as like the city of angels. Like Red Hot Chili Peppers has, I would say, half their
Right.
discography is about LA, and how awesome LA is. But yeah, I know that influence is very strong. Well, a large part of the U.S. Was Spanish for some time. So the western side, California, Texas, Tejas. That word originally comes from rooftops. So the rooftops in Spain, they were for some time they were using like a red colored mud to draw out like the tiles or whatever that they put on the roof, and the mud that they found in Texas, I think they call it like teja or tejo or something like that, and that eventually became what we now call Texas, Tejas. So, and there's a lot of those like little tidbits. I mean, Florida as well. It was, the land of flowers. That was a Spanish thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
never actually thought about it, but yeah. So Texas, like that pronunciation for the X. The same with
Mm,
like with Mexico. It's actually Mexico.
yeah.
Uh, so like we use the word teja to refer to any roof tile as well.
Mm,
I never actually
yeah.
thought about it.
Yeah. No, all these
um,
tidbits, I find it fascinating. I find it absolutely fascinating. Like, I try to go deeper into the founding of Argentina, and it got a little bit more complicated. I don't remember the details, but I think it was a gentleman by the name of Bolivar or something, who played a massive role down there in that southern portion.
yeah, so that was supportive of it. Like we had like one of like our greatest founding fathers is actually founding fathers, a bit like yeah.
Yeah.
It would be San Martin. Like
Hmm.
he went across the Andes to something Chile. Hmm.
Yeah.
Argentinian history is like still a mystery to me, and it would be good to actually know it before I leave the country. And that's also another thing. Like I don't know a lot about it, mainly because I don't know. I thought that I was going to be able to leave a bit sooner,
Where
but
where would you leave?
I'm not sure just yet. At some point I thought about like Canada, like
Yeah.
just a really quiet place in Canada or something. But the more I talk to people from Canada, they are like, well, actually, come down for for a couple months, see if
Hmm.
winter there is actually your thing, because
Mm.
you may say like, yeah, it snows great and everything from place that never snows, right? But you better make a well-informed decision rather than just
Mm.
going to a place like that. And I guess that's sort of true. So that's something that I've been postponing a bit, but I wanna be able to travel around first and then
Yeah.
make a decision.
Yeah. Well, you had mentioned you're getting more into teaching. I don't know if you're teaching Spanish or English or both. Maybe both. That would be a good way to do it. But
Yeah,
that
it
might
was
open up.
more so. Yeah, it was an idea at some point, and still trying to figure it out. Like I like my work has nothing to do with it. I've worked for 8 years, like in IT, basically, like quality
Hmm.
assurance, both manual and like part of it automated. So like trying to get out of it or like slowly build up something that I can work off of is it's
Yeah.
hard. So I haven't really set up anything just yet.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, we were talking a little bit about voiceovers, and I think the first thing I thought about with voiceovers was, especially since you can go back and forth between Spanish and English. I was thinking about like what are some of the bigger types of work that I've heard of that, and I'll tell you one of my favorites, which is it's a children's movie, Puss in Boots 2, Puss in
Yeah.
Boots 2, and
Antonio
Antonio
Banderas
Ben.
is, yeah.
Yes, and what's awesome is he does both the Spanish and the English. And I saw the Spanish one, and when he does the Spanish one, I think he's got an Andalusian accent, and
Hmm.
it's like when I was really trying to improve my Spanish, I really enjoyed it, and the accent was just like the character is he's got so much finesse, and it's a hilarious caricature. But what's funny is when I was pulling up the Spanish subtitles, they actually have two. They have like Spaniard Spanish, and then they have Latin American Spanish. And I was curious. I was like, oh, what is Latin American Spanish? Because like Latin America is pretty big. It could mean so many different things. And it was Mexican Spanish. And I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense for an American audience. But the Spanish accent, I think, especially for Puss in Boots, which takes place in Spain, or at least in like some European medieval fantasy land, it's like that's the one to listen to. But yeah, I think like with voiceovers, I'm curious what your thoughts are, or you're thinking about going on that. And I think definitely the bilingualism is that's that should work pretty well in your favor.
Yeah, I mean it's an advantage, but like whenever you see when I may say that I'm like fluent or whatever, then like every once in a while, like if I say a few words, a few things, it's gonna be like immediately obvious that I'm not from, the US. So I wouldn't be able to do like voiceover, like voice acting, for anything in English unless they need something that has like a character, someone that has an accent,
Mm,
which for starters, for like the kind of thing that you start with, like audiobooks, for example,
mm,
it's not something that people are really looking for. So I think I got a better chance at it in Spanish, but I don't know, like you see a lot of things anyway, like. I remember playing, I don't know if you play video games, but I remember playing Cyberpunk, and
mm,
one of the main, well, there are a lot of characters, right? But like one of the main ones is Jackie Wells, and he's got like, he's like Mexican, I think, or like from a Mexican family. So even though his entire dialogue is in English, Uh, he's got that accent and, you know, like the obviously the attitude and everything.
Mm.
So there are a couple roles like that, but I don't know. Like whenever I think of voiceover, it's not like English is probably not my first pick.
Mm. Yeah, that would be interesting because I was thinking it might okay, so if we're thinking about like supply and demand, the demand here I think would be one of two things. It's a character that speaks Spanish, or it's a character that speaks English with a Spanish accent. But I mean, again, I'm telling you, man, your English is like it's C2. It's C2 if not fluent. Like I don't have to when I'm down there, I do my best to speak Spanish, and I would say half the time people talk to me in their normal speed with the normal idioms, and it's more challenging. And then the other half the time people are like, "Oh yeah, clearly you don't know Spanish, and I'll slow it down for you." And I try to do the same in English, especially if like if this person doesn't have great English, I'll slow down my English. Um, and it's like I mean it's a language exchange. Whether or not it happens at an event, it could just be going about my daily day, my regular day where I grab a coffee or a lunch. But you don't. I mean, you're C2 at minimum.
Yeah, again, I appreciate it, but it's there. I don't know. Like whenever I see like a crack or something, and like whatever I say, it's like yeah, this probably feels
Mhm.
like the uncanny valley version of languages. You know, like it's like is he
Mhm.
okay? Does he have like a speech impediment? Or is he from another country? You know, like it's like sort of like that. But I know that sometimes like people from like there I've met a lot of people here, right? Like that they've actually studied it, but they never had that sort of immersion thing of like actually spending basically their entire day of like, or at least the consuming media part of their day in English. So they may like talk really fast and really well and everything like really proper in English but with a really Argentinian accent. You see that a lot, and I think sometimes that's a
Mhm.
bit like harder to like. And like there may be like a few words that people may not get only because we don't have a certain like phonemes, like the distinction for us between like sh and j. Like it's just like for us it's like sh everything. Like we don't have like
Mhm.
and in other parts of Latin America, like Mexican people, for example, don't have that problem because they have that
Yeah.
distinction. Here for us, that's that's not a thing.
Yeah.
So we may say instead of saying like jet, we may say chet, which
Yeah.
doesn't sound good.
All right. So I should say like for most American speakers who learn Spanish, when we learn sort of like that double L, so we can think about the word street, calle. So the version we learn is calle, and then some Spanish teachers will tell us, oh, it could also be calle, like it's more of a, I guess that I believe that's like the southern Spanish accent, so it could be like calle. But
Yeah,
the Argentinian version, the first time I heard it was very confusing because I just hadn't, I was not familiar with it. And it would be cache, or it'd be like sho. And sho is
yeah,
yo or yo, So these are things that, at least for, I guess, everyone above Uruguay, this is different. I don't know what Paraguay does, but like, Peru, Colombia, all that stuff, it's a different style. Plus, you guys have something called the voceo, so you would say like
yeah,
vos decís instead of tú dices, and that's another thing that
yeah.
I didn't see that in any book. It's not in any grammar book. I don't know what an Argentinian Spanish book looks like to learn grammar, but I could not find any references. Fortunately, AI came around by the time I was spending more time in Argentina, so I was able to ask ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is pretty good at knowing all these nuances.
Yeah, I mean, as if Spanish wasn't hard enough, right? Like,
Yeah.
whenever you think about like conjugations in English, like there aren't that many,
Mm.
and then in Spanish you got like all these differences, and then adding like poseo on top of that, it probably gets confusing really fast. But yeah, I don't know, like,
Hmm.
um, whenever I came across someone that started like trying to learn Spanish here in Argentina, I was like, it's like going to Scotland trying to learn English. Like, yeah, sure. Like you're gonna learn something,
Yeah,
but it's gonna probably be applied only to Scotland, most of it.
yeah. That's fair. I think that's a good distinction. But it's worth it, man. For the wine and the asado, it's worth it. So when I was down there, I met some people who were telling me who were explaining to me like proper asado. So I had asado when I was down there. Yeah, essentially like steaks. But it's a lot more than just calling it a steak. There's a whole process to it. But what I learned was I think I believe the best way to make the analog is to say Argentinian asado. It would be like an American backyard barbecue. Like it's a whole day
Yeah.
event, right? Like you set up a pit fire or a wooden fire in a yard, and then you is a whole process of preparing the meat. Like I don't think it's completely from scratch, but you do start with more raw material than we do. I mean, I think you could buy like a pretty massive set of ribs and other bits of meat and cuts all attached together, and then at home you cut it, um and we're talking like 50 pounds.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for some people, that's like a whole ritual, and like an
Mm.
excuse to get together with friends, family, like basically, yeah. Like I feel like that's something that a lot of people pointed out when I talk to them as well. Like we seem to have a lot of excuses, a lot of events, a lot of things to just spend time with people. That
Hmm.
doesn't seem to be uh as common in like in any other country, like maybe parts of Europe or even in the US. Um, but yeah, then we also see like different kind of things. Like I don't know, I've seen people from here complaining about the way like you would do like your backyard barbecue in the US. Because you
Hmm.
basically like like fire it up and there is no like slow burning anything. You basically it's like let's pour some like ethanol. I mean, I don't know if that's the case, but it sort of looks like it. Um, just to get it running, and for people here, like they have like a full 4 or 5 hour process to do it right, and that's something that I don't know how to do either. But it's more so like the excuse to spend a whole day basically with friends or family.
Hmm. Yeah, I would say a proper backyard barbecue is a slower process, but it's not like 4 or 5 hours, and the preparation is a little bit it's not as complex where you set it up, but the most common way to hold your fire is to use coal. I mean, there's a lot of different things you could do, but coal is the most common, and use like lighter fluid to get this thing started, which is some fuel, some alcohol. Maybe it's ethanol. I really don't know. But you get that started. Use a little bit of kindling. Some you could use newspapers for kindling, but I think that's way too carcinogenic. I mean, that was the old days.
Yeah.
But then yeah, you get this thing started. You get it smoking. You let it heat up for I don't know half an hour, an hour, and then you can take your time by grilling vegetables, slowly doing the hot dogs, and just doing it over different courses. So you're just constantly keeping it going, and you're just handing out food for like 2 3 hours. Um, for us, the big times to do it are 4th of July, which is our Independence Day. Um, January 1st is a common one, New Year's, and Memorial Day. That's a big one. And then like football Sunday, American football Sunday. So here the ritual is on during football season, American football season, which is fall to winter or beginning of winter, is most of the games are on Sundays. So that's the day that you kind of get together with friends and watch. I mean, I used to watch when I was growing up. These days I don't so much anymore. But that's by far it's the biggest sport, especially the Super Bowl. That's our big event.
Oh, I see. Well, in that
Yeah,
sense, I think we're not that different. I see a lot of people getting together for the,
yeah,
World Cup, or even if they cheer for the same local team, like they would, go around and have an asado as well. So it's
yeah.
sort of the same thing.
But it's similar. It's like an excuse just to to kind of hang out and take your time and slow things down. You know, it's not fast food. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, no. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I think it's just, like whenever you see like a reel or something, like someone actually starting the fire, I don't know, like I guess people, the only difference would be like the lighter fluid thing to start it.
Mm.
Like here, people don't use that or don't like that, or like, I don't know. They just like to, criticize things from other countries.
So this is one thing I noticed as I was traveling around. This is Americans are uniquely optimistic where it's like a running joke where if an American says, "Oh, this is really cool," that means it's okay. But you know, and so like in Argentina and in Europe, they would say, it's all right, you know. But American will always say, "Oh yeah, that's really cool." And if we say something is awesome, that means is good, but it could be better. But you know, and then we like our baseline is just shifted to the right. And then if you stop and you
Yeah.
say like that's jaw dropping, amazing, that is the coolest thing ever, an Argentinian would probably still criticize it, you know. But at some point, you know, there's like the purism where it's like you don't want to use lighter fluid because that's technologically processed to make life easier. You want to get as close as possible to nature. And at some
Yeah.
point, I just want to see someone using, you know, sticks and stones to rub
Yeah,
together the
getting.
fire, and so, like that's where it's real. You know, if you're using a lighter or anything else, you're already cheating. Even a match, that phosphorus, that's cheating.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you're gonna
true.
go nature, you got to go all the way. You know.
Yeah, and actually, now that you mention that, like, I never noticed that about American culture. Like, you know, like saying that something is like, oh, that's awesome to me, and like, it's good. Because I
Yeah.
only noticed it the other way around, like interacting with people from Europe. It was more specifically like when trying to learn like a bit of German, and so immediately your Instagram reels start like
Mm,
popping up like a lot of content for that.
yeah.
Um, but it was the other way around. It would be like, oh, that's not bad, and it means like, oh, that's good.
Yeah.
But when they
Yeah. Yeah.
say it to you and you don't actually know that, it's like, what do you mean it's not bad? Like, what am
Right.
I doing wrong?
Right. Yeah. Like, what are you really trying to say? You know.
Yeah.
I don't know much about. I haven't been to Germany. I met a few people from Germany, but I don't know much about it. But let's get into immersion, man, because what you did, I think, is really impressive. Where you know, so I'll tell you my experience with Spanish, and I got to B level. I would say at my peak I was B2. So you know,
Okay.
A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, and then fluent. So I would hit B2 at times, which is pretty good. I mean, it's at the point where I can converse with most people and have a full blown conversation. You know, we might have to slow down a bit here and there. There's some words I don't know, but it was pretty good, and it's a really great place to be because when you're at B2, you can really be um, in a monolingual location and really get by, and you're constantly improving because you're just like picking up all the edges. You're smoothing out all the edges where your language skills aren't quite there yet. I would say these days I'm probably more like B1 because I'm out of practice.
Hmm.
I'm sure if I practice it would return a bit. uh but my own experience was I studied Spanish in high school, I studied Spanish in college. I took a long break and then I came back to it, and I was doing a combination of Duolingo. I was listening to podcasts, and I had a remote job, so I was in a fortunate position where I could travel. So I was nomading. So I was going to I've been Spain, Mexico, Argentina, Colombia, and I had that opportunity to practice it in immersion. And
Hmm.
in a lot of these places, you know, depending where you are, you're going to get various levels of English proficiency. So you're really forced to improve your Spanish. And there were some things I did that were useful. Like I did on Instagram, follow a ton of, you know, Spanish speaking, like say influencers or journalists or programs or whatever I could find that I already had an interest in. And every now and then I would even take like a little digital recorder with me, and I would just kind of record conversations because that's like the truest Spanish, where people
Hmm.
would speak much more quickly or much more colloquially, and then yeah, at the time I didn't do this, but now I would. Is I would probably plug it into like Grok or ChatGPT and ask them to help translate. But I did find AI tools were super helpful actually, where I could say, hey, how do I say this or how do you translate this? Give me a few different variations. And like which is the most natural sounding, and I would get a ton of great feedback. Uh, and I'm curious to hear what your experience was of getting that immersion between all the stuff you're consuming, what you liked, how you picked it up, and how you made it part of your daily life, so it just became so natural.
That's maybe like the hardest part for me because again, it was sort of automatic. Again, I was sort of a kid still, right? So it just sort of happened. The problem is I at no point like I think at the beginning I was like I'm probably gonna get like 30% of this because like I would have like some English from school in the same way that people from America like they would have like some Spanish if they have it as school. But I didn't care. It was like, well, I'm gonna look up the things that I can sort of make out of this and that I don't fully understand. Um, and yeah, it was like it gradually became the main thing. So, for example, like if I look at my phone, like everything's in English, but like I think it was more so important for the pronunciation, just like being like constantly exposed to something like that. And I see the difference when trying like in 2024, I started, nope, in 2025, I started trying to learn German through the same way, basically, just like a bit of Duolingo and like watching stuff in German. So there's this YouTube, that's the difference though, right? There's this YouTube channel called Easy German, and they would have like slow sort of conversation and like day to day sort of like phrases and things. But whenever you actually speak, like whenever you hear someone speaking from Germany and not from like a tutorial sort of video, it's like yeah, well, this is different. And then I watched shows like Dark, which is from Germany, and yeah, trying to get as much as I could of the like obviously with captions in English, but trying to like sort of get the pronunciation, like the yeah the way that it sounds down. Because then, if you want to actually like learn structure or grammar or like whatever, you're gonna go ahead and read a textbook instead of listening. But yeah, a lot of those things also come like more naturally, like whenever you're speaking a language, it's sort of like this prediction machine going on in your
Hmm.
brain. So in English, I will find many times I will find myself sort of going through a sentence without thinking about it because like every word makes sense uh in in correlation to the last word, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
because the way that it sounds, and you sort of like know intuitively, the mouth position and everything, just to get that sound right. Um, and I think that that just comes from a lot of exposure to the way that a language sounds, and you gotta do that basically
yeah,
all day. Like any kind, like I don't know, like I get it that it can get like a bit tiring at some point, like if it's actually something that you don't fully understand, but just keep going at it until
yeah.
it sticks.
What's funny is when you talk about like predicting words, like what's the next word, that's you pretty much describe modern LLMs, like the large language AI models.
Yeah.
That's kind of how they work. It's like predictive, like what comes after. I have these words in a sentence. What's the next word that is most likely to come after? I mean, it's more than that, but that's the main prediction pattern. So that's kind of funny. But I'm glad you mentioned Easy German. They have a whole series of different languages, and I forgot about that. But I was following their Easy Spanish stuff as well, and
Hmm.
in the Easy Spanish stuff, I was following their interview series, and the way they did it was they would spend I think right now the team is mostly based in Barcelona, if I got that correctly. But their team had kind of bounced around, and it was a decentralized team, so they would essentially just do random interviews with people around like the city centers, and it would be something like, what are your favorite restaurants in this area? And then some of them are more deeper, like what is your um I don't know where your family roots from. And I remember one. This was super cool. This was like 3 years ago, or 4 years ago. They were doing one in Madrid, and there was like this, at the time, this sort of visa allowance for Venezuelans who were trying to escape Venezuela, and Spain opened up a visa program for them. So there was a lot of Venezuelans coming into Madrid, and so they were talking to the Venezuelans about like, hey, what are the differences? How do you like it here? How's the food? All that kind of stuff. And that one was a little bit deeper that I enjoyed, but um, it was like proper, full Spanish conversations, and they had all the subtitles, which makes such a big difference. Where you're hearing and you're listening and you're kind of putting those things together, and it's partially passive, but then there's also the active component where you hit pause, you look up a few things, and with all the tools that we now have online, it's a lot easier. There was another tool. There's a couple tools you actually reminded me of that I was using quite frequently. One of them is called Language Reactor, and it's a Chrome extension, and it works with Netflix and YouTube. And what it does is it shows you subtitles for two different languages at the same time. So the source language and the target language. So for me, I was doing both. I was watching films in like Spanish films that are they're
Hmm.
native Spanish movies, and it would give me the Spanish subtitles, but then it would also give me the translated English subtitles. So I have them right next to each other, and I could compare things. And it would do
Yeah,
pretty. It would do decent at the idioms. Yeah.
I think that's also the way that is a German, and I would imagine like is a Spanish as well, handle it. Like
Mm.
you have like the subtitles in English, but also like what they're actually saying in Spanish or like in German.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think that's pretty useful. That's something that I didn't have when I started with English.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really good to to see like those idioms or to actually understand like, oh, what's that sound like? That sounds like this. Like if I was to like say how it's written, it would be like that. Like am I okay? Like is that okay? And you actually check and you may be right or not. Um but yeah, so many of those things, and even more so, like again, is it German, is it Spanish? I remember like
Mm.
German would have like their own like thing by the production, which would be like really slow and like every word is like
Hmm.
really, it's part of a script basically, so they can do it slowly. But these interviews, it's really fun to see different accents, different just the speed, the way
Hmm.
that people actually talk in their own native language, and it's yeah, it's really useful.
So how far along are you in German now? How long have you been studying
I give
German?
up. No, so
Oh man.
yeah, it's not like I gave up. It was around the same time where I was unemployed for a time, like I got laid off and everything. Um, so after that, like right at the end of it, I started with German for like let's say 2 months, 2 months and a half, maybe three. And when I got another position again as a quality assurance engineer, um,
Mm.
I yeah, I I I didn't have time for it at first, and then
Mm.
I didn't make time for it because
Mm.
I started focusing in some other things. Started going to the
Yeah.
gym for the first time. Started going
All
for
right.
walks. Like actually spending my time doing healthy stuff.
Well, it's yeah. I think when it comes to languages, it's like you got to have a real motivation. It's not enough to just have, oh yeah, this language sounds nice. It would be kind of a nice to have. It's like something's got to push you to say there's some practical reason for it, because it's a hard, long process. It's a very long process. It's one thing to say I'm cognizant of the grammar differences, and I could like do well on a test if I were asked to fill in the grammatical whatever. But then to learn all the idioms, to learn the idiosyncrasies, to learn how the language evolved, that's a whole different ball game. And you need something to drive you towards that. So like for me, it was pretty much only Spanish because I was doing traveling. I was thinking about moving down there. Um, Other languages, I've always had like I have fun playing with them. And I especially have fun looking at sort of the different features of a language. So English, I would say is, I mean, I'm a native English speaker, so I hold some bias, but it doesn't have many inflections, which is to say, we don't have genders associated with our nouns. Like a book is not male or female.
Yeah.
We don't have conjugations. We have very few conjugations. They're like exceptional cases where we have conjugations. I think the thing that does make English tough is we do have a lot of idioms, and there's something you guys I forgot what you guys call it because in English we don't study this, but okay, you know the verb like darse cuenta,
Yeah.
darse
To
cuenta, and that's
realize.
actually to realize, yeah, and that's like it's I forgot what it's called, but because you have dar and cuenta, so you have two words that actually make a single meaning. There's a word for that in English, and I forgot what it is, but
Yeah, I don't know about
okay,
it.
well, yeah, and it's funny because I never heard of that. It's a grammatical concept, and I've never heard of it in my life until people were telling me that they're studying English, and they're like, "Oh yeah, those things kind of confuse us." Um, but other than that, then there are completely different languages like Chinese or Japanese or Hebrew or Greek or Russian. There's these things are so different than Spanish and English because English at least has Latin roots. Um, but I think, I've never studied German, but I know English has German roots as well. English is this weird thing where it's like Germanic and Latin kind of at the same time. So you see
Yeah.
things that are similar. But I think German still has, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, they have something called cases. I want to say they have three
Yeah.
cases.
Yeah,
Yeah.
accusative and like something.
Yeah.
I never actually like did like I never picked up a book for it, so I don't know much of it. It
Yeah.
was like mostly again Montelingo and trying to immerse myself into it. But they do, yeah, and we don't have him in Spanish as well. It's also crazy to think that like this gender thing for things like I don't know, a Ikea book or something. They change and they
Mm,
change like already having like an idea of it in Spanish and suddenly like oh that thing that was feminine and now it's masculine in German uh sort of breaks your brain as well.
oh, yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, like many of those things are I think like you could pick up there's no way that you're going to go through a list and memorize them, so it's like a
Mm,
lot of that, a lot of like immersing yourself, and whenever you listen to whenever you heard it like enough times, you're going to be like okay, yeah, that's the way that it should be. Like it sounds wrong
yeah.
otherwise.
It sounds wrong to you because you already have a conception of like el libro. Libro is male,
Yeah, but
native
that's what I
English
mean,
speaking.
like
For me, it's like it's completely neutral. I have no preconception of what it should
but
be.
if you spend so many times, it's like enough time, like listening to people speaking Spanish, like there would be like no, uh, yeah, no case in which someone would say like la libro or la libra.
Mm.
Well, la libra, yeah, actually the pound. Anyway,
Oh yeah, yeah,
but they want to say la
La
libro.
pibe.
So at some point it would you would be like no that sounds wrong, so you would like stop
Mm,
and correct yourself, but it
mhm.
takes a lot of time.
Yeah, yeah, man. All right. So you said you're hitting the gym now. What's your routine there?
I haven't changed it at all actually. I started it as a full body sort of thing. I was like um I gotta do something. After
Yeah,
a full month that I realized like last July I was like I don't want to get out. I just want to like I want to work. I want to stay inside. I want to watch like a movie
yeah,
or something and get it over with. Or just start the next day. Um, Looked myself in the mirror. And I was like, I look awful. Yeah, I got to do
yeah,
something about this. So I started off just going out for short walks, like trying to, like there's people that say that just moving out a bit, like it will like hurt, it will help, like your overall mood and everything.
Mm,
So I did that for like 2 weeks. That was enough for
mm.
me to be like, you know what, I'm gonna go and like try like going going to the gym as well. And I got there, and they were like, "Oh, if you do 6 months, it's cheaper if
Mhm.
instead of like doing each month." I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, yeah, you know what? Like, sure, screw it, I'm gonna do it." And so I set myself like a 100-day plan of like meals and stuff,
All right.
like sort of setting it up like a game, like having like a
Yeah.
spreadsheet and like seeing the calories of like I want to make sure that none of this is in red. I mean, it's gonna be okay if I have a couple of them, but I want to see like a lot of green, and and that's what motivated me to keep
Yeah.
going basically. And for the first time, I'm like somewhat fit, which is
Dude,
just crazy to think about.
I love that. I'm happy to hear that. I'm happy to hear that because like I kind of did a similar thing where I mean I had tried a lot of different things to at least stay in somewhat shape, um, but I really started hitting the gym hard about 6 to 9 months ago, and I had a friend who helped me out a ton with it and helped me get my routine together. But it's such a slow process where you have to track all the inputs because if you don't track the inputs, it's easy to get demotivated.
Yeah.
So part of my routine is so my routine is pretty strict. It's pretty laid out. I don't really deviate. I'll try some things that are a little bit different, but for the most part, I don't deviate from it.
Hmm.
But a big thing is like I track my weight vigorously. I don't look any different in the mirror, but every now and then someone will say, "Oh, I haven't seen you in like half a year. You're looking better," and it's like, okay, that's good to hear because I don't see the difference. One thing I've discovered is my level of body dysmorphia went up the more the more I've been focusing on my nutrition, my macros, my weight, my strength. I'm like more critical. But I think that's all in the right direction. But yeah, man,
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know if you. Yeah, go
hmm?
ahead.
No, I was gonna say, as long as you don't get lost into that,
Yeah,
actually, like, because you know that body dysmorphia is gonna be a thing no matter what. And yeah, it got like a bit worse for me as well. I had to
yeah,
like track my weight and like do some like progress like pictures, like just looking at yourself in the mirror and like taking a couple pictures. And then when I see like where I started from and when I see myself today, it's like, yeah, no, like there's a clear difference. Could it be bigger?
mm,
Sure. Do I want to be bigger? Probably not. Like there are like a few things, but there are some days that I will look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, that's exactly the same as last year, and I know that
yeah,
it's not right.
yeah. It's it's hard. It's like, man, it's such a psychological and emotional battle.
Yeah.
I've only gained like more respect for anyone who can manage the discipline, the motivation, and like the self control. Because a big part of it I realize um, is what goes in your body is the nutrients, is eating well, and cutting out things that aren't getting you to where you want to go. And
Yep.
that's a tough process. There's a gentleman who I'm still in touch with who I met at your language exchange actually. Um,
Okay.
I won't call out his name. I'm hoping to get him on this. But he's doing like marathon and triathlon training. He's doing some
No.
crazy stuff. I don't know if you're still in touch with him. We could chat more later about him. But
Yeah.
he's yeah, I've been meaning, like, I really want to learn about what his training routine is and what his nutrition is because I think there's like a lot of interesting things there. But the level of adherence and sort of strictness you need to place on your body is like you really have to go after it and tighten it up. And here's the funny thing, I say, and I joke to him about this too. Like, he's a smoker. I don't know if he still smokes, but it's so funny where he's just like he's smoking up and he's training for a marathon at the same time, and it's like it's nothing. It's like, yeah, this is part of the training routine. This is part of the diet. Yeah, but
I mean, yeah, I've seen people that do running as a thing, like actually like run a marathon and stuff. And up to a certain age, they don't really notice the difference. Even the ones who quit,
Mm,
they would be like, yeah, I quit because I knew that it would be better for me and in the long run.
mm,
But it didn't actually change anything performance wise. Like it was still the same for them.
mm.
So yeah, no, I see that a lot. I actually quit this year. So
All
at the start
right.
of the year, and I
Yeah,
did
yeah,
this gesture because I actually fell back into it a few weeks
yeah,
ago. But like it's a thing of like trying to keep consistent and like just yeah,
yeah.
trying to keep it up.
Well, what's funny is all right, so let's see if I had oh yeah, I got one. Okay. So I'm a big coffee drinker. I love coffee.
Hmm.
But the problem is if I have coffee after like 1 p.m., I have trouble sleeping. And I know that's crazy down there because you guys do like nighttime espressos. But for me,
Yeah.
after 1 p.m., no caffeine. I
Okay.
found something else. I do nicotine lozenges. Right now, there's also the Zyn. The Zyns are very popular. I prefer a
Yeah.
lozenge. And it's light. It's like what I do is 2 milligrams of nicotine. So I started on
Hmm.
this, and I was like, oh, you know what? It gives me a little bit of extra boost in the afternoon. So because I'm not gonna have coffee at say 3 or 4 p.m., but I still need that
Hmm.
energy. And it worked great. I was like, okay, cool. I'm just doing like 1 tablet a day, and then I got to 2 tablets a day, and I think now I'm at 3 tablets a day. I've been doing this for like 3 years, but it now there's a couple more things with this. One, in the US, it's impossible to be a smoker. You can't. Like you cannot smoke at a bar, you cannot smoke at a restaurant. There's only
Hmm.
some bars that have like an outdoor area, but it's like if you're a regular smoker, you're going to struggle just to find a place where you're allowed to smoke. So smoking in
No,
America is pretty it's not very common. We
it's more
you know
expensive as
there's
well, isn't it?
it's really expensive. It's like $10 a pack of cigarettes, 10 USD. So
Yeah.
that's like yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Um
half year.
Yeah, yeah. And it also depends on where you live. So different states have different taxes. So like the state of New York, we're talking like $15, $16 a pack for 20 cigarettes, which is insane. It's almost $1. It's almost one full USD just for a stick,
Yeah.
which is crazy. But as I was traveling around the rest of the world, that's when I started smoking. So I was like, I was in
Mm.
Spain, everybody's smoking. You're like, you're out, you're outside on a beautiful day on a beautiful street with like historical architecture. You feel like you're living in a museum. The sun is shining. You have a beer in hand, and you just want to top off the day. And everybody around you have a cigarette, and you say, "Okay, why not?" And it's just it's phenomenal. It's like if in that scenario, I would still have another one. And then Argentina, they smoke a lot in Argentina, they smoke a lot in Turkey, and they smoke a lot in Spain. And so then I started picking up smoking. I was like, okay, this is like such a nice relaxing thing to have, that first cigarette. Then it got to the point where I was like, okay, it's no longer enjoyable. I'm picking up a habit, but it was so early on, it was pretty easy for me to quit.
Mm.
I never really got I never got hooked on it. The lozenges I am hooked on. This is a problem, but at least it's not hitting my lungs. So I'm
Yeah.
probably the first person that took a uh uh an aid to stop smoking, and that was my gateway into actual smoking. So these things are, they're sold as to help you quit, but they help me start.
Yeah, well, you would see that a lot with Zins as well. For me, it was actually the other way around. So when I quit, I did Zin for like a month or something, and trying to
Mm,
got a daily, making sure that I wasn't actually like consuming more each
yeah.
day. And yeah, and it worked. But I see that like without like the because like cigarettes at this point like have so many like regulations and stuff, and the
Mm,
problem with Zin, I think it's not even a thing that's like I don't think there's anything that says that like a teen would not be able to buy a pack of Zins, right? So they can
mm,
get him hooked into like that first, and technically like yeah, there's no problem. Like it doesn't actually do anything to your lungs. But
mm.
it hasn't been used for long enough that we know what it actually does to your, I don't know,
That's
your
true.
gums or teeth or anything,
Yeah.
digestive tract. I have no idea. So yeah, I'm trying to like the ideal thing would be to not consume nicotine at all. But I'm sorry to I'm sorry to see that you.
Eh,
What are those goals again? Like the ones you have?
They call it a lozenge,
Lozenge. Okay.
nicotine lozenge.
Hmm.
I don't know if you,
So it's
yeah,
like
but
chewing gum or
it's like a little mint tablet.
oh, okay.
So it's like a mint. It's like a mint, and then it dissolves. So it's
I
and
see.
it doesn't like the thing with Zint that I didn't like is it just took up too much room against my gums. So I would talk funny with it. I didn't like the feeling of it either. And then like you throw it out and it's all like gummy at that point. So I'm not a fan of Zins. Lozenge is the one that did it for me. So okay, here's the thing. Like if I have a cigarette, I'm gonna enjoy it. Like I will really enjoy a cigarette. I especially in the US, where there's no place you can truly just sit down and enjoy a cigarette in the sunset. The
Yeah.
temptation isn't really there for me. But in the US, the biggest discussion these days have to do with vapes,
Hmm.
where vapes have gotten really popular. And the controversy these days for us is how much flavor should we allow in a vape? Because it's become popular amongst teens. And well, there's a couple things. One, just as you said, they say that vapes are healthier than cigarettes, but we don't know how long the studies have been around. We don't know what the long-term
Yeah.
effects are. And it's not like vapes don't have anything in them. It's like there's an oil that is artificial in manufacture that is going into our lungs. And we can say it's inert, but we don't know. We don't know what's really in them.
Yeah.
It's not combustion, so it's a little bit different. At the end of the day, we don't even know if the flavoring is okay, if it's causing issues that we don't know about. So yeah, the best thing is to do is to not have it. But those have gained a lot of popularity. I have tried a vape. I do get the nicotine hit from it. Personally, I just never liked them. I don't know. It seems it's too artificial. I'm I'm I work in tech, but I'm quite anti tech in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm pro AI, I'm pro nuclear, I'm pro robotics. I'm pro
Mhm.
tech in the ways of bringing human convenience, but I'm anti tech when it pulls you away from sort of an analog experience. Like I'm not a fan of synthesized music or synthesizers in music. I'm not a fan of vaporizers. If I'm gonna have something like that, it's gonna be a cigarette. You know, it's gonna be fire and like raw substances that become one with
Yeah.
me and my lungs.
Yeah, it's different. I know that there's probably, well, I don't know how here, for example, like vapes are not that popular, but you get like a lot of like really cheap options for that here, right? So I don't know like how many like regulations that actually pass through in order to be able to be sold. So even though I tried it, like it's not my thing either. But if my advice would be like not to get into like anything that contains nicotine at all because it's noticeable. Like for me, like it was kind of a hit at first to try to like quit nicotine like altogether. And yeah, if you're not like if you don't think about it, if you have like enough going on like in your life as a whole,
Mm,
um, you may not have like that extra bit of energy that means like to quit something like cigarettes, for example. Um,
mm.
but yeah, I don't know. And in my case, like whenever like it comes to tech or like digital versus analog sort of things, I think I'm with you. Except for the AI part, like I know that it can be useful for some things, but I think that at this stage is like really overhyped still.
Mm.
Like, have you seen like the videos of people saying like, "Hey, ChatGPT, how many days of the week have the letter D in them?" And they're like, "Oh, so that'd be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday." It's like, you sure you're not missing anyone? Like, and that's the sort of model that we have like assisting into like with important stuff. Um, so I don't know.
It's also sycophantic in the sense that like if you come back and you say, hey, what about the other days? And then ChatGPT will come back and say, you're absolutely correct. You're such a genius. You should be the one in charge of this model. You're correct. Here are the 4 additional days. thank you for your assistance and your help in making me a better model.
Yeah.
So there's definitely that, and it can diverge you in the wrong direction. But I wanted to ask, I vaguely recall you said that you play an instrument. I think you said you play guitar.
I play guitar and piano, yeah. But
Are
in the
you are
same way,
you
like, hmm?
are you involved in the music scene down there?
No, not at all. Like like I have this, like the, the acoustic panels and everything to make sure that I don't bother the neighbors as much, and
Ah,
actually
very
for my
cool.
own convenience as well, just
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
be like, I don't know, to have less echo and everything. Um, but
La
I never
Seco?
actually less echo, like
Oh, La Seco.
less,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah. Well,
No, no, I was
uh,
thinking Spanish. I was thinking Spanish. No, you're right. You got it.
okay. um, but yeah, I don't know. Like I never actually did anything with other people when it comes to music up until like last year, and that was only like a meetup sort of thing where people would
Mm.
like gather around like in a park,
Oh yeah,
and we would like just play different songs or like jam for a
yeah.
bit and see what came out of it.
That's cool. That sounds like I'm not a musician, but I tried to learn guitar multiple times and I just kept failing, and so I kind of let it go. But it changed my appreciation and taste in music pretty dramatically. And one thing I really liked down there was the music history in Argentina is really strong. Like Argentinian rock is a pretty big thing down there. And I did watch the Fito Paez document, not the documentary, but the show on Netflix.
No,
And I absolutely loved it.
I didn't.
And it, you
I
didn't like
haven't
it or
watched
you
it.
didn't watch it? You don't
No, I
watch it.
didn't watch it.
Yeah, fair
but
enough, fair enough.
yeah, like we have, I think. So nowadays it's sort of shifting. I think probably Argentinian rock was very popular up until like I don't know 2010 or something. That was
Uh-huh.
sort of like whatever band or anything that would come out of Argentina would be basically rock or like some
Yeah,
variation of it.
yeah.
And now that it's moving more so like into trap and like the sort of thing that or reggaeton or like the sort of thing
Uh,
that you would see like all across Latin America. It would make
uh,
sense. Um, but yeah, I think it has like a lot of history in a way. Like it's a big part of our culture as it was like I don't know the first half of the like 20th century. It was probably like
uh,
tango, and then it moved on to
mm,
rock, and now
yeah,
here we are. Now we have a bit of everything.
yeah. Well, I'm definitely trapped in the rock phase. 'Cause in the 70s, a lot was changing in terms of rock in the US and the UK. And like there's a large intermingling of what came out of the blues and where jazz was kind of going. And we're getting like the heavy rock and the hard rock. And out of the US, we had folks like Bob Dylan and Jimi Hendrix. Out of England, they had Eric Clapton. And then this is the same time that there was like Fito Paez and Charlie, I forgot his name, but there was a
Garcia,
lot
yeah.
of yeah, and there was a lot of stuff that was just kind of like when you hear it, you're like, oh, I can hear the influences of all these people. And this is pre-internet. So for them to even know about each other's bands, it means somehow a vinyl record got transported across oceans. And it was happening for at least the biggest names. And hearing that influence and that style, I loved it. And this probably part of my continuance in like the analog style. I very much prefer bands with instruments. I can't get into synthesizers. Like there's a few songs I hear here and there, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's really cool. But I know that it's heavily synthesized and the music is generated in a way that's it's detached from human locomotion, and it doesn't resonate with me in the same way. Um, so yeah, like I know reggaeton is huge.
Hmm.
It doesn't really. There's a few artists I do like, but for the most part, it's not really the kind of sound that really hits my vibe.
Yeah, no, it's not mine either. I know that like, well, he's not from here. I think he's from Colombia. I don't know. But Bunny is like
Mm,
a big name lately, and he's into like that sort of music as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. Like there is something that even like if it's just like the like a guitar and someone singing, it's like very intimate, very like specific to that sort of sound,
Mhm.
and something that cannot really be replicated with any kind of like digital version of it.
Mhm.
um there's also, it goes both ways as well, right? Like whenever I hear like this, I don't know, EDM, techno sort of trance, like with
Yeah.
this b- big like sine wave type chords, like at a very specific moment, like it could be not even at a drop, but something
Mhm.
that sounds like so n- not human, like so
Mhm.
perfect that it couldn't be replicated by a human. it
Mhm.
it gets, I don't know, I give it like a like a partial credit because of that, because I feel like it can, I don't know, it can evoke some sort of like emotion or thing that you want to get from someone playing an instrument, but those are rare cases.
Yeah. I hear you on that. It's like it's too well programmed and orchestrated. My like
Yeah.
here's the thing. If I hear something like that, um and I can tell that it's been synthesized, I feel like I'm being emotionally manipulated. Even though if George Harrison is playing like is bringing me to tears with My Guitar Gently Weeps, I'm okay with George Harrison bringing an emotional kick out of me. But when a computer does it, I'm not so happy. Now, I'm a bit of a hypocrite here, so I don't know if you've um, heard it, but the intro to this podcast is AI generated music. But there's a reason for that. For me to use actual music from a human being, there's a whole process of royalties. So I got to figure out who owns the royalties to a particular song, and the stuff I like. It's like I can't get in touch with an agency or a contract, and I don't want to spend a ton of money on something so early. Maybe another time I will. Um, so I figured, okay, well, let me get something that I like the music, I like the style. It is going to be AI generated, which will at least let me bootstrap some things. But I want to get away from that sooner than later. And the music I got, it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't really hit what I'm going for. But it's the best I can do at the moment. I'm sure if I spend more time on it, I can get something better. But at the moment,
Yeah.
yeah, that's just it makes my life a little bit easier. Um, but yeah, man. I
And I
mean,
think that's
I
mostly, that's sort of it with anything AI generated, right? Like it gets people, like, I don't know, like even for video creation, like it's not like they're gonna use like a whole uh, a whole video clip, or like a whole thing for a movie or something that was AI generated. But for
Mhm.
someone that doesn't have access, let's say to, I don't know, how, what do you call that? Like stock footage for a
Mm,
video, like someone just like looking at medical records, or like something really generic, it's gonna be good enough, right? Like
mhm.
no one's gonna stop there and be like, oh, that bit of page, like it doesn't really make sense, because it's gonna be like a part of a bigger thing.
Yeah,
And same with this. Like if you need
yeah,
something to just get it out of the way for now, it makes sense for you to like create something with AI. And I
yeah.
see that. But whenever you need something real specific, that's when it fails, when it's not really
Mhm.
good. I've had that. So I play DnD. I do, stupid shit with friends.
Yeah,
And every once in a while I would like to come up with a character design or something. And if it's like a
yeah.
really throwaway sort of thing, like a one shot or something, I'll just create something, right? Like just using even not even like a specialized image creator. I would go to ChatGPT and be like, hey, I need a character like this, like that. And they would be
Mhm.
like, is this okay? Sure, yeah, that's fine. Like I don't care,
Yeah.
right? But whenever I need like a really specific design, I'll be like, I don't know what the other day. I feel weird talking about this because it's a fucking 30-year-old playing D&D. But you know, like this character with a sword for an arm, right? Like his whole arm is like a retractable sort of sword,
Yeah.
and I wanted it to come up with an idea for something like that. I would like picture it in my head, but it didn't really make sense. So I was like, could you do something that sort of looked like it makes sense? It doesn't have to, but you know, like
Hmm.
there could be like some possible spaces or something, but it should be like a sword that can be retracted and this and that.
Hmm.
And doesn't really know how to do anything like that, like
Hmm.
not even close. So I had to actually draw that,
Yeah.
and that's for everything. I think like AI
Yeah.
is good up to a point.
I'm happy with that balance now, where AI I feel is an assistant. Like it's not the core driver of
Yeah,
anything. It can't do everything. And it certainly can't sort of perfect taste. But this idea of it being an assistant where it can get you partially there and then you round it off, that to me is a good balance. And I mean the AI is always improving. Who knows where it's gonna go? I have some thoughts on it, but we'll kind of see how it plays out. Um, but there's another thing about DnD. So I've never played, but I've seen a couple of games where I joined friends to watch it. It was too over my head, but it's been growing in popularity. I actually think that things like DnD are going to grow in popularity and continue to do so. Because here's the thing. Here's what we're seeing in our age now is more and more things are becoming digitized. More and more things are artificial. Less things are tangible. I mean, we're just talking about music. Like, forget the AI portion. Just the synthetic music, where people are using computer programs to write music or synthesizers to generate new sounds, or CGI in movies. Like we could you the elite version of CGI would be something like Avatar or Transformers.
yeah.
And here's my opinion. I'm not a fan of those. I don't really like the CGI at the level that we're seeing these days. For a
Mhm.
lot of like stunts and effects, it's not really. I don't know. Those special effects is gone too far away from what we can create tangibly. And I think AI is going to supercharge that.
Hmm.
But my prediction here is that the reverse of that is our draw towards a real human authentic connection is going to grow. And what's awesome about D&D is that it's human driven, you know? I mean, sure, yeah,
Yeah.
as you said, you could reach out to the AI and say, "Hey man, help me design the dungeon, help me design some creatures, help me design some paths that various characters can go down and some conflicts that are going to arise and sort of the larger mission that the journey that these folks are going to start off on, and give me some variations that I'm ready for." And all that is cool, but the actual playing it out, being there with your friends, having a drink, having coffee, having mate or whatever, that's not replaceable by a set of robots, even if they were actualized, And I think that's going to grow. That's part of the reason why I mentioned earlier, I don't want to do any edits on a podcast. It's only like for exceptional cases, because this is human, this is real, this is authentic, and I think that demand is going to grow as the artificial age increases.
Yeah, probably. I mean, we've seen that quite a bit as well with I don't know. I think it was probably like during the pandemic, like we were like locked, like we
Mm-hmm.
didn't have as many opportunities to share moments with other people. And so
Mm-hmm.
things like that, for example, like I actually started playing well, actually it was a bit before for me, but I got it introduced to like my high school friends during the first year of the pandemic. And I don't know, yeah, I think it's gonna increase in popularity as well, only based off of that. And there's a like an aspect of human connection that, at least for now, you know, AI is not it's not able to replicate. And I say at least for now because I don't know I don't know if you've ever looked into the way that these models are trained and the way that they come up with better models, but the way that it is that they just basically throw like larger and larger data sets at these models, right? And they come up with better outputs because of that. And there's like an argument of people who like saying, is that ever gonna reach like a ceiling, right? Like,
Mm.
is that
Yeah.
gonna is going to be capped at some point, to the point that it doesn't get any smarter. It's actually like diminishing return sort of thing. Um, and I think that might be the case unless they come up with a, I don't know anything about AI, so I have no idea, with a something, right?
Yeah.
To actually push it towards like more human-like behavior instead of like this
Mhm.
sycophantic machine that just wants to, you know, to be, it just wants your approval, basically.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean that's sort of if I got the terminology right, that's the idea behind AGI, artificial general intelligence, where it gets to the point where it operates at baseline a human level in the same way a human has our weird characteristics and nuances and idiosyncrasies and our creativity, but even to supersede that. And whether that's another paradigm shift in the way these models are generated or not, like I don't know. I think it's hard to predict the future on what that could look like and if we'll
Hmm.
ever get there. The only thing I know for sure is that this stuff is going to it's going to continue to explode in prominence. It's going to be more and more a part of our daily lives, and I don't entirely know what that looks like, but as an example, even with this recording, some of the technology I'm using is all AI. Like to help me filter out background noise from the audio, I'm not going through and
Yeah.
applying different filters. I'm just clicking a button that says AI clean up background noise on the audio, and it's applying the filters on my behalf. And that's just one of many examples of where it's infiltrated. But man, hey, if you're cool with it, can we dive into D&D? Because I don't really know the rules. I would love to learn, and I think there's a lot of folklore behind it. I mean, I played Warcraft, I played StarCraft.
Hmm.
I haven't played Cyberpunk 2077. It's on my list to get to it. The last game I played with full intensity was BioShock. I don't know if you remember that. It's like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, awesome narrate. The narrative is amazing. Like that's one of those things where I wish they made a movie about it, but it's got to be like if they do it right, it could be one of the best. It could be one of the best movies in modern age if they do it correctly. Because the storyline to the Bioshock games are just they're otherworldly, but they're also one of those that they make you think about a deeper sense of humanity, and those are the movies that stick around. Not Mortal Kombat 2, which I'm probably gonna watch, and Street Fighter. Like Street Fighter plays a really large part of my childhood, so I will 100% watch the Street Fighter movie.
Yeah, but
I'm
the thing
I'm
that you're gonna
stoked
get
for it.
anything meaningful out of that is like a
Yeah, yeah, I know what that is. That's junk food, and I am going to enjoy that junk food. Yeah,
perfectly reasonable.
yeah,
But yeah, I don't know, like it's weird to get into it at first, right? Like for me, it was more so like a thing that was brought up by a few coworkers when I actually went into an office before the pandemic and everything,
what's an
and
office?
and yeah, like I don't know, like at first you don't really need to know like a lot of rules, and yeah, I say that and thinking about like the character she like is
Yeah.
already like
That
that
that's what
that's
I
a
was
lot of
told
rules
too.
already.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
was like, this is complicated. This is no rules. I mean, there's definitely a process. It's very open world, but there's definitely a process.
Yeah, and but I think it depends a lot on the kind of like dungeon master, game master, so TM, that you have. So the guy running the game, um, which like sometimes they will have. So Dungeons and Dragons has been a thing since the '80s, so they have like a lot of editions and a lot of like different like settings and stories, and they release books for that, and they could simply be running one of that, right? Like one of those.
Mm, mm,
Um, or they may come up with their own like world and stuff, maybe use like deities and locations from some of the books, but do their own thing with it. And I think the hardest part of that whole process is to look at a table full of people and trying to picture something that's only going in the theater mind sort of thing, right? Like because it's just narration from someone, that will
Mhm.
say like, oh well, it's the year this and that, and you feel the cold air like through your skin, and like trying to describe like the whole scene, and actually getting into that, which I think was actually like a shift from the way that it was at the beginning of like Dungeons and Dragons in the 80s, which was
Mhm.
way more rules focused, and really, there weren't many computer games, and less so like computer games that did stuff like that. So the idea of having like stats and hitting for an amount of damage, and like defeating, like having all these rules to just combat, was like the main thing. This
Yeah.
whole like role playing thing of being like, oh, I'm like this character, this race, and I act like this, and I may even like have a conversation in character with an NPC or
Right.
with another party member. That's probably the toughest part to get used to like
Mm.
actually, if you don't come from like a theater background, that's
Mm.
weird.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, I remember playing Final Fantasy VII, and I played a few of them. Um, but it kind of reminds me of that. And I mean, they even call those RPGs, role playing games. And I think
Hmm.
you see a similar sort of lore behind the types of games that Final Fantasy VII was trying to capture in the storyline. Something like Lord of the Rings, and something like in Dungeons and Dragons, where it's a combination of mythological creatures is going on an adventure. There's no technology, nobody is making phone calls, but there is this level of mysticism and magic and the unknown, and it really pulls you in a different world. And I think that like shared, sh- it's an interactive movie in some sense. But I'm with you there. Like my impression of Dungeons and Dragons was more like a computer game RPG that you play with other people. And I remember rolling dice, and I didn't quite follow it. But even these days, every now and then I'll see some crazy like videos where people will share their scenery of how they set up their game. And the ones that go viral are the ones where they really go
Yeah,
all
yeah,
out.
that's
I mean,
streaming and everything. Yeah.
yeah, like one of them I've seen, they created a whole diorama on a table where they had trees and a map, and the cabin and all this stuff, and they had a smoke machine to give you that sense of you're in the woods in the fog or something like that. They play with the lights and all that kind of stuff. They have music in the background for the introduction or sound effects for who you're about to battle. I mean, people can get really intense about it, but it's a really immersive experience. But you're saying, can you explain that a little bit more? So it's not so driven by stats anymore, because the version of the game that I was more familiar with is your character has 50 HP, 50 hit points. They have like 30 mana, and they can cast a certain amount of spells. You roll a dice, so there's an element of luck. But if you die, you're just kind of waiting on the dungeon master to help you find one of your teammates find a potion to bring you back, or like you could still talk from the dead, but you can't interact. There's all these different ways to play around it, and none of it is set in stone, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, but I think it's still like pretty much driven by, your stats and everything.
Mm,
In the sense that that's what the real game, or like the core mechanics of the game go off of, right? Um,
mm,
but and I think this probably has to do with the way that most of the popularity that nowadays Dungeons and Dragons has came from a podcast, internet show sort of thing.
mm,
Um, Sort of like what you're describing, like with like minis and like a whole map and everything. And the group of people that play it are voice actors. So
mm,
they have background in acting, and they're good at like doing voices and everything. And it got popular because of that around like 2016-ish, let's say. So the way that people play it now has everything to do with, or like the mechanics and everything. but you will also have like important moments for your character, right? Like, and you will act it out, or like some people will. There is some people that don't really care about that sort of thing and are more so like, no, I want to hit stuff, you know? Like my character is just going to be there for the damage, and I'm going to optimize it. And I'm going to like add more dice and more dice, and it's going to be that sort of thing.
Mm,
But for some people, like the role playing aspect of it's like really important. So getting into that part of the game, I think is like for someone that wasn't like for me that I wasn't like really, I didn't come from any kind of like acting or anything kind of background.
mm,
It was weird. It was like this is it's gonna take some getting used to. But in the end, it becomes really really natural. It's
mm,
actually a really fun way to explore like different like if you make like a really, I don't know, confident character. If you're not confident, a part of that is
mm.
going to stick to you eventually. Like you play it for long enough that it's really awkward at first, and it's like, what am I doing? And that part of it will stick to you. Or someone that's, I don't know, trying to be funny in a way. Like, you know that you allow yourself to sort of throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks, and some of that may stick to you as well. So yeah, it's useful even for life, I would say.
So what is the preparation for this? So let's say you and some friends have, I don't know, I guess a month before you guys are going to meet up for a game, and you're like, all right, we set this date, Friday evening, Saturday afternoon, we're going to meet up. Bring your coffee, bring your snacks, bring your alfajores, whatever you want to bring, and we're going to play a solid game for a few hours. I guess you get a general gist of this is roughly the mission maybe or the journey, and then your character preparation is, how is that bounded? Like can you just come in and say, oh, my guy has infinite strength and infinite health,
Yeah, no, well,
he has
that's
a magic club that's, no matter who he touches, he will defeat that enemy, and he can transport immediately to whenever and wherever he needs to.
yeah, no, well, that's the thing. That's where rules are like what rules are there for. You will have like a set of things, like a set of hit points and stuff, depending on your level. And like
Mm,
before the session even starts, you're gonna be, or the TM is gonna tell to the players like, okay, you're all gonna be level 8, let's say. So you can choose like whatever spells, whatever attacks or weapons that would correspond to that level. Um, you can also have like, let's say, one magic item that you want like from like their tables, you know. So you may sell like a rare magic item,
mm,
or you would say as a DM, okay, there are these magic items to choose from, so go ahead and you know pick whatever you want. Um, and so the preparation for the players is not, it's not really heavy at all. Like you sort of have
mm,
to think about a character and like what race they're going to be, like you know, an, like an orc or a human or an elf or like whatever, and
mm,
the classes are going to be as well. Like there are different classes, as in like Warcraft, as you said, and yeah, like you sort of create your character based off of the rules. For the
mm,
DM, it's more so like having some of these adventures, like pre-written adventures, as I said, like from the book, or creating their own thing, being like, oh, okay, like it's going to be a 4 or 5 hour thing, right? So
mm,
if they have like a 30-minute, like sort of introduction to the place that they're in and like the NPCs, and then they have like a small battle that will like lead them to a clue or something that will then lead them to the actual final boss battle or something. They'll sort of structure the session as best they can. And obviously,
mm,
that's not usually the thing. As a DM, that's not usually the way that it goes. You know, like players are gonna do stupid stuff, just because they're having fun with someone with something that you didn't anticipate that they would have.
mhm,
So you
mhm,
have to be capable of like creating new things or like guide them in a way that's not like hey guys, like I have a story to tell. Like be subtle about it and like leave them the way that you want because you actually prepare something to for them to face or come
Yeah.
up with something new in the moment. So yeah, it's a different experience for the other one.
There's this there's this meme that the Lord of the Rings could have just been a 30-minute short if Frodo and Sam had just hopped on one of those flying horses, and then the flying horse took them over Mordor. They dropped the ring, and then they went back home.
Yeah.
And so you do that, and there's no film, there's no epic, there's no adventure. So you have to be ready to shoot those down immediately, right? It's like, oh, I called my flying horse, he's gonna pick me up, and then they're like, ah, too bad he just got struck by lightning. Like
Well,
the game goes on.
yeah. Um, but that depends. Depends on the DM as well. Like how quickly and subtly they can come up with an idea of like, oh well, you can do that, but like I don't know, it's a party of four, so like the horse is not going to
Mm,
be able to take four people. Like the other two are still going to have to like walk all the way there, and it's like, ah, well, okay, yeah, that's
mhm.
true. So they try to come up with something, like sort of like
Yeah,
working around all of this, and at the same time, like being a narrator, like trying not to
yeah,
lose that. It's not just you talking with a group of people. It's trying to narrate like a story,
yeah.
as short as it may be.
Well, I gotta say, we've been on this for about a little more than an hour and a half. You have a good voice. You have a good voice. You've got that narration voice down. So I'm happy to hear that you're a DM on this. How often do you cycle through DMs? Like, do you? I mean, like the whole culture. I think I've only been adjacent to it where I have some friends who are into it, and they kind of describe it to me. But it sounds like they've got a core group of guys. Well, I think they've now slowly moved away from each other, but they had a core group of guys. I think they were meeting every couple of months, maybe 3 months, and it was mostly the same people with a few people rotating in and out. And the I remember when I sat down with them, I was visiting them in California, so I didn't have like a character or anything. I think they gave me a character. They're like, okay, here's a backup, so you could like join in.
Yeah.
But yeah, like how do you kind of cycle through that? How do you rotate that? Or is there just like a open community where you just pop in a game whenever you want?
There is something like that, at least here in Buenos Aires. I know, like in many other cities, you're gonna find like different like library sort of things where they set up like uh games for anyone to be able to join. But
Yeah,
I never actually
yeah, yeah,
joined
yeah,
anything like that. It was like with friends, and the way that it would work. So I run a campaign, for example, for like 2 years, which
yeah,
was for a part of it like a weekly thing, and another part of it like every 2 weeks. But yeah, it was 2 years of the same story, basically, just them moving
yeah,
along and getting their thing done. And every once in a while, there would be like a weekend in which like one of the players would be like, "Hey, I have like an idea for like a one. It's called like a one shot. Whenever you do like a one thing, like just like self-contained, uh,
mm, mm,
just one session sort of thing." So they'd be like, "I have an idea for one shot. Like, want to try it out?" Yeah, sure. And they would be the DM for that one. But it was usually like three of us, from a group of like 5, 6 people, like depending on the time of year, basically. But yeah, from a group of six, like only three of us would be DMs. And now it's sort of the same. Like we don't really play. I mean, I don't really play DnD anymore. I play this thing called Tell Your Heart. The idea is basically the same. It's just different set of rules.
mm.
But yeah, it's I don't know. Like some people have like what they call like the designated DM, as in it's always going to be the same person. But it's always
Mm.
good to like step out of that role and actually be able to like to play a character as well.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, definitely I think being on both sides of it helps you. Well, as a game master, it helps you put together the game and empathize with what your characters are about to face and the challenges they're gonna see.
Yeah.
And then from the other side, like as a game master, I think it's definitely one. I imagine the more you do it, the better you get. But it sounds like they make or break the game.
Yes, that's why I only do it with with friends, or like mostly with friends, and at first with colleagues from work.
Mhm.
Because yeah, you have to trust that that's those sort of people. And as in any community, if you just go out and meet people, you're gonna find a couple weird ones. You know, you don't want to have like a shared experience where it's just for one person that doesn't really know how to, I don't know, wait, or like I don't know, there's just impatient
Mm,
people, or like I don't know, you get everything
yeah.
in every
They
community.
yeah, like they throw a temper tantrum and they're like, "Oh, it's not fair that my character got their knee knocked out and now they can't walk. You're being so cruel to me." Like, yeah, you'll definitely get that, I can imagine. But yeah, now that
Yeah.
you mention it, I do remember like if I've seen a lot of these game rooms. I forgot exactly what they're called, but there's sort of a similar sense of like you'll find it at like chess clubs as well, where these sort of game rooms where they'll be chess heavy. They'll be like Magic the Gathering is pretty popular. There's some
Yep.
overlap with like not as much. I'm surprised with like poker rooms. Not like gambling poker rooms, but like a group of people to play poker with. Because these are all, I think, they're all strategy, and there's all a element of human psychology and surprise and luck, and it all kind of follows in the same process. I mean, poker doesn't have a narration to it. You're just trying to steal someone else's money. But in but in these type of narrative driven games, it's yeah, the human to human interaction is big. Have you ever heard of this TV show called Community by any chance?
I've heard of it, and I think I was like someone recommended it because it has, I think, one episode that's about like Dungeons and Dragons. And I
Yep.
never watched it.
Yeah, I'm going back to my memory on this now. So the director, his name, he was either the writer or director, but he was like the driver behind it. His name is Dan Harmon, and
Oh,
he
is
wrote
it the same guy
Community.
like the sorry, the Rick and Morty guy?
Rick and Morty, same guy,
Yeah.
same guy. Yeah.
Huh.
So he did Community, and he did, I think, 2 episodes on Dungeons and Dragons, and it's so funny. It's amazing. You don't have to watch the whole series. I do think the whole series is good, but in particular, the 2 Dungeon and Dragon ones are really good. I think it's on Hulu. Um, but then he went on and he did a Dungeons and Dragons TV series, and they animate it. So the game is like it's a proper game. There's a game master, and I think there's 3 or 4 people who are the same throughout like 10 episodes, and each episode I think is half an hour long. And then they have one guest, and the guest is oftentimes they brought in like an actor or an actress or a comedian, somebody within their group. And it's hilarious. It's more of a comedy than everything else, but it
Okay.
has like the element of Dungeons and Dragons, and it's just like one complete storyline over 10 episodes. But one character is alternating as they bring in a guest to just kind of have some fun. And it's kind of cool that they animate it as well, so you can watch along, and you can kind of appreciate the imagination that they come up with. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's my experience with Dungeons and Dragons, but that's a fun one. I think it's gonna be alive and well for a long time, or as you said, like offshoots of it, because this is I just don't see the human element being replaced. I only see us as humanity craving human interaction, authentic human interaction more and more as this digital stuff just grows in our lives.
Yeah, I mean, there is no way around it, I think. At least not for now, like again, maybe at some point we get to a point that it's possible to make emulate it to a point that we don't really notice the difference, but for now it's like really, really obvious. Like you need like you talk with any, you know, any LLM for long enough, it's like, yeah, no, this thing, like 2 sentences, and you notice that they're not like any human at all. Like that's not human interaction.
Yeah.
And anyone that falls in love with a with an LLM nowadays, that I know that there are probably a few thousand cases,
Yeah.
they have something going on. Like they they would have to talk with people for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an interesting problem. And those stories are kind of coming up more and more often. And this is without the robots. Like this is just
Just
like I
yeah,
guess
just a
typing into a
voice.
computer. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
once these things are in some form or fashion robotic, yeah, maybe that's when it changes. I don't know.
Maybe, but even I don't know. Like I've tried ChatGPT's, like audio, like voice thing,
Mm,
and it's not human at all, right? Like both the inflection, the way that that it talks, the way that it just like processing requests, and it's like the
mm,
most sycophantic, I would think, of all that there are out there. But there's, for example, like this, another example, like this other, I don't know how to call it. Like, I think what separates it is mostly like the voice model that they use. So if you go
mm,
to a site called Sesame, um, they have like two voice like companions, one named Maya and the other one Mike, I think. I don't remember. No, I don't remember. Um, but whenever you talk to them, the way that like the inflection, the way that that it's actually processed is really good, and the base that they have, like that they're running off of, is Claude, I think.
mm,
So it gets real enough for like certain periods of time, like for like small periods of time. But then immediately, like whenever you like start really getting into something, or I don't know, like in basic human things, you start realizing they're just echoing whatever you're saying, right? And in some situations that may be useful to actually like reflect on something a bit, it's better to actually talk about it with someone.
mhm.
But yeah, you may realize like, oh yeah, I'm saying something that maybe doesn't make sense, or that, that
Yeah,
it may be more useful to approach from another angle. But they're basically echoing everything you have to say. So in
yeah.
principle, it's all the same thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the biggest argument against these algorithms that learn your preferences and then spit back an echo chamber. So like on X or on Instagram or whatever, once you like one thing, that algorithm jumps on it and will feed you more of the same. So you end up getting the same message cyclically, and it takes conscious effort to break out of it. It's the same with an LLM, especially if you log in and you have an account, then it has a memory of your interactions with it, so it kind of follows up with your preferences. So it's that's definitely one of the bigger challenges of the digital age, where we can create our own microcultures, where we
Yeah.
can get trapped in them. And LLMs at the moment, I don't think are working to break you out of that. Yeah, I mean, there is, there is this whole thing about the diversity of opinions and how you get that. And the unfortunate thing is, it's wherever you go, whether physically or online, you have to take a conscious effort to keep your feet in multiple standings. So you get a perspective from different directions, and you're not pigeonholed into sort of the echo chamber.
Yeah, but in the like at the same time, everything's so commoditized. Like nowadays, like it's so easy to get what you want in many
Hmm.
situations of life, right? Like, I don't know, the kind of music that you like, the kind of show that you like, the kind of food that you like
Hmm.
everything's like really easy to get, that I would get why some people choose to like straight up ignore, for example, like whenever they see something, or like they have a conversation with someone that doesn't 100% agree with them. They're like, well,
Hmm.
I don't want to have a conversation with you, so I'm gonna go with like, I want to have like my own things. Like I want people to think exactly the same way that I
Hmm.
do, and I think in that regard, I understand why people would like fall in love, or like be okay with having like, an AI as a therapist, if you want
Hmm.
your partner or a therapist to just tell you that you're right in basically everything you
Yeah.
say. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm definitely. I mean, that's a hard temptation to get away from. You know, like to stay in your comfort zone, to get reinforcement of your pre-existing beliefs, or to get what you want. I mean, in an
Yeah, but
age
there
of
are people,
abundance.
but there are people that are not even like conscious about it. So that's the real problem, right? Like if if you're conscious about it and you see yourself like going towards that, you're gonna be like, okay, no, 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 like I need like a bit more diversity. I need to actually see what's going on. But there are people that are gonna be okay with just that because they think that's all there is. Um, but yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead, I cut you off.
No, no, it's a fair point. It's a fair point. It's everywhere. It's ether. It's gonna be a constant struggle and a battle. I mean, I'm 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 generally optimistic about the future, but I do wonder how us as humanity is gonna is gonna navigate sort of these temptations and this age of abundance. Where, as you said, we can almost get anything we want through a web search. I mean, and this has realized itself in so many different ways. I mean, say I just want to eat ice cream for dinner every day. I could do that pretty easily. Our
Yep.
our ancestors could not, and that's definitely not going to be good for me. But it's there at my fingertips.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and the problem is like to expect that from every aspect of life. That's not the way that it works. And
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. All right. Well, Gabriel, with that, is there anything else you want to cover? Anything you want to go into before we call it?
No, I think that'll be pretty much it for my part.
All right, man.
Not that it
All right. Well,
was
listen,
anything very very important or anything, but it was
it was
fun.
just fun. It's good to catch up. Well, listen, I'm gonna stop the recording, but stick around for a little bit. We'll chat a little bit more.
Sure thing.
All right. See y'all.